Okay, let's unpack this. We often hear about the power of the American passport, right? And it's true, it opens a lot of doors for you around the world. But what about the doors that are, well, nearly sealed shut? The ones that make even the most seasoned traveler pause.
Yeah, it's fascinating because difficult isn't just one single thing when it comes to visas. It's usually a combination.
Hmm.
Incredibly detailed and lengthy paperwork, maybe strict government requirements like needing official invitations. And then, of course, there's the whole intricate dance of international politics.
Exactly. Each layer just adds complexity.
Hmm.
So our mission today is to sort of pull back the curtain on these seemingly impenetrable borders. We've really dug into the sources for this deep dive, and you might find some of the requirements surprisingly intricate, even for places you thought you knew about. Get ready, because the process for some of these might shock you a little. Let's start with the big one. Russia often comes up when we talk about challenging visas. If you're thinking of visiting, prepare for some serious paperwork.
That's right.
Beyond just the sheer volume, what are some of the really unexpected or, tricky aspects of their visa application for U.S. citizens?
That's a great question because it's definitely more than just standard forms. The Russian visa application is pretty famous for its depth. It doesn't just ask, where you're going. It actually requires a really detailed itinerary, almost minute by minute for your entire trip.
Wow, minute by minute.
Yeah, pretty much. And get this. You also need to list every single country you visited in the last 10 years.
10 years. Goodness.
I know, right? For someone like me, who sometimes struggles to remember what I had for breakfast last Tuesday, well, that sounds like a serious research project. But the main hurdle, the real game changer, is what they call visa support, or an invitation letter.
Okay, what's that exactly?
So this isn't just your simple hotel booking confirmation, not at all. It's an official sponsorship document. It has to come from a government-approved Russian entity, like a specific hotel or a registered tour operator.
Ah, so it's an official sponsorship.
Exactly. This requirement really highlights the state's desire for a clear, official record of everyone entering and, their exact purpose for being there.
That Russian process.
Right.
Yeah, with the detailed itinerary and that official invitation, it's certainly a hurdle. But if you're looking for a truly unique challenge, maybe let's turn our attention to Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan, yes.
What makes visiting one of the most isolated countries in the world so uniquely restrictive?
Well, Turkmenistan takes the whole concept of state oversight to quite another level. For U.S. citizens, the requirements are incredibly stringent. You must book a full tour with a government-approved guide.
A full tour, okay.
And that guide has to accompany you for the entire duration, your whole time there. Plus, your application needs a letter of invitation from this official travel agency. This isn't just about making sure you see the sights, It's really a profound reflection of the state's tight control over information, over the narrative, making sure every visitor's experience lines up with their specific national vision.
So it really shows how centralized their approach is.
Absolutely. It offers a clear window into how deeply centralized their approach to, external engagement really is.
Yeah.
Solo travel.
Yeah.
Simply not an option. Your entire trip is pre-planned, prepaid, and supervised, start to finish.
And the approval process itself.
That's another thing. What's also notable, and often incredibly frustrating for travelers, is how opaque the approval process is. Denials are pretty common, and often they don't give you a reason. Just no.
That sounds incredibly strict. Imagine putting in all that effort, planning everything, and just getting a flat no without any explanation.
Exactly. It's tough.
So for a seasoned traveler, someone who really values independent exploration, is there any way around that? Any way to experience a country like Turkmenistan without that constant supervision? Or is it truly non-negotiable for U.S. citizens?
Unfortunately, for U.S. citizens looking for a tourist visa to Turkmenistan, that level of supervision was truly non-negotiable. The government's control over tourism, it's just so extensive. That guided tour requirement, it's an integral part of their entry policy. It's really a fundamental aspect of how they manage foreign visitors. No wiggle room there.
Right. Okay. Makes sense, even if it's restrictive. And for our next destination, things get challenging for different reasons, mainly the unique geopolitical context. Let's talk about Iran.
Yes, Iran. It definitely presents its own set of significant hurdles. These are largely shaped by its relationship with certain Western nations, obviously including the U.S. For American citizens, there's also a mandatory pre-booked guided tour requirement.
Similar to Turkmenistan, then.
Similar in principle, yeah, but with its own unique twist. The absolutely critical step, even before you formally apply for the visa at an Iranian mission, which, by the way, often has to be done in the third country.
The third country. Wow, okay.
hmm Before all that, you have to get something called an authorization code. And this comes directly from the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
An authorization code obtained before applying, possibly in a third country.
That sounds like an added layer of complexity, definitely. Can you explain what that code actually signifies? Is it just another piece of paper?
Good question. No, it's more than just another document. This authorization code is essentially an internal pre-approval from the ministry. Think of it as a crucial security and vetting clearance. It happens before you can even formally submit your visa application at a mission.
So the government vets you first.
Precisely. Your tour company applies for this code on your behalf, and it really highlights the direct, centralized control the government exercises over who enters. It basically signals that you've passed an initial security review.
I see.
The whole process, as you can imagine, requires significant lead time, a lot of patience, and of course, a willingness to adhere to a very strict pre-approved itinerary. No deviations allowed. So, looking across these three, Russia, Turkmenistan, Iran, what are the biggest misconceptions travelers might have? You know, things people assume that just aren't true about these processes. And maybe what's the single most common pitfall? The one thing that trips people up and leads to a denial, regardless of which of these countries it is.
That's an excellent question, and it really gets to the heart of avoiding disappointment later on. I think a major misconception is that if you've managed to get a visa for one challenging country, you've kind of cracked the code for others.
Right, like it's a template.
Exactly. But it's not. Each nation is a totally unique puzzle with its own specific rules and sensitivities. As for the most common pitfall, honestly, it's often a seemingly small detail. An incorrect date on a form, maybe an unverified hotel booking mentioned in the itinerary, or some inconsistency between your stated plans and the supporting documents you provide.
So precision is key.
Absolutely crucial. These nations prioritize precision. Any deviation, however minor it seems to you, can be interpreted as a red flag. And that can lead to an instant rejection. You can see these aren't your typical click-through online forms. They demand meticulous planning, often those official sponsors we talked about, and a really deep understanding of each nation's specific rules.
Which naturally raises an important question. Is it actually worth using a professional visa service for these complex applications? I mean, if you connect this to the bigger picture of avoiding those pitfalls and understanding all the nuances.
The answer is almost always yes, especially for these destinations. An expert service doesn't just, fill out the forms for you. That's not the main value. They understand the subtleties, the nuances of invitation letters, how to correctly present your itinerary so it meets the requirements, and crucially, how to avoid those common pitfalls that can sink an application.
They know the system.
Exactly. They manage the timelines, keep track of all the intricate details, which frankly allows you to focus on planning the adventure ahead rather than getting bogged down in bureaucracy. Quick search for reviews of professional visa services, for instance, will show you plenty of feedback. You'll see stories from people who have successfully navigated these really complex situations with help.
Right. So the takeaway is, while these visas are definitely tough, maybe among the toughest for U.S. citizens, they aren't necessarily impossible.
Not impossible, no.
They just require a completely different level of preparation, and quite often, that expert guidance really helps.
Definitely. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it really makes you consider those invisible threads, right? The threads of diplomacy, national policy, all the things that dictate how freely we can actually move around the world. It reminds you, it's not just about what passport you hold, but also about the intricate relationships between countries.
Yeah, and how those relationships directly shape the experience of travel for individuals.
Exactly. It's a fascinating intersection.
Absolutely. So, thinking about all this, what really stands out to you about these incredibly detailed and controlled processes? And maybe looking ahead, what other seemingly impossible travel goals are on your mind, or perhaps on the minds of our listeners?